Hey, dear After Ellen viewers, and welcome to the final episode of Dana Does It with Glee. On this episode, we are going to talk about Glee's final episode, All or Nothing. All or Nothing seems to be an apropos choice to name this episode, since pretty much the entirety of season 4 has really been all or nothing. The art of subtlety, not exactly very present in this season. We had a lot of plots, a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of great moments. Overall, as a fan, I think season 4 has been Glee's most challenging. Challenging in that, as much as I love Glee, there were moments that I just was so frustrated with what I was watching, what was happening, why certain choices were being made. And certainly part of that is the fact that we had this very split season. We had our favorite, cast members that we've loved for years go on to New York and have their own new storylines, and we also had these new people that we were starting to like but never really got a full chance to embrace. And we had those two kind of competing against each other. And I think it did Glee more harm than good to try to separate the season. Now, I know some people totally disagree with me and really love the split location kind of thing that they did, but for me, it felt disjointed a lot of the time and didn't really give us a chance to fully enjoy either. A major theme in this season is growing up. And part of growing up is facing challenges and having your heart broken. And we as fans had our hearts broken. Oh, hello. It's like, look, everyone, it's my own guest star, Admiral Tubbington. Well, broken hearts be damned. Let us tackle the season finale, All or Nothing. The whole Brittany and MIT thing. I was very skeptical of how they were going to pull this off, but I guess the way they did, it works for Brittany. So it allowed me to slightly believe it, rather than last vlog so that I just was completely not buying it at all. So Mr. Shu gives one of his pep talks to the New Directions, and says something along the lines that every performer has this moment that defines them. And I would like to say that I think that's bullshit. And I think that's a really messed up thing to be telling young artists. No one thing, moment, occasion, or person gets to define you and your talent. Only you get to define yourself and your art. Which is why next season, I'll be taking over musical direction of New Directions. No, not really, but that would be kind of cool, right? Of course, that whole speech is really just a setup for Rachel's final callback for Funny Girl, where she totally, amazingly obliterates Celine Dion's To Love You More. And I mean obliterate in the absolute best possible way. What a perfect song for Rachel's character to close out the season. We're so used to seeing Rachel be the big headliner in, one of the big New Direction regionals or states or whatever, so this was her way of being part of it without really being part of it. I thought it was very interesting that she brought her own flautist. I can only assume. They usually don't provide you a flautist at a callback. And also, callbacks usually aren't you just kind of getting up and introducing yourself and singing a random song. You're usually singing a song from the show because you've already gotten to that point. You're also reading sides from the show. But anyway, I digress because it's not important. Anyway, it's Glee. I'm starting to really get concerned about the health and stability of the people in New Directions. What's going on with these kids? I mean, here Blaine is still going on with this terrible idea of proposing to Kurt, and it's weird because Blaine's usually a really kind of sensible guy. Brittany's breakdown in the choir room, really just made me deeply uncomfortable and rather sad. And maybe that's the point, but it just felt so bizarre. And watching her set fire to her Cheerios uniform, it was blasphemy. Pure blasphemy. As for Ryder, I totally agree with what he said. This catfish thing is completely out of hand. One of my least favorite storylines in all of Glee. Oh, and Teacher of the Year Will Schuster, why didn't you step in when one of your students was like verbally and physically threatening the other ones? Oh, I really did love the fondue for two with Mr. Shu and Sue Sylvester. It was so meta beautiful. And yeah, I kind of love the fact that Michael Bolton is the father of Sue's baby. Yes, that would. Yes, I believe it. The ring shopping, which, while I think the whole thing is completely ridiculous, it was a really, I think, sweet and important. Um, oh, I'm sorry. You don't care for that storyline? Anyway, like I was saying, I think it's a really important storyline to tell. There is a rift. It's really the only word I can use. There is a rift in the gay community between the younger generation and the older generation. And I think that there always has been. We've all experienced such very, very different things, and there's a difficulty connecting. And I think it's so beautiful to embrace and accept and try to understand where each of us comes from in this whole big world of being gay. So I'm very grateful that Blaine and Kurt can have someone older and wiser help them understand and appreciate their history. We find out, not that it was a big surprise, but we find out that Unique was the catfish. And while I get it, and while I understand that it makes sense in the story, the whole time I really was wishing that it wasn't Unique. Because I think that's a lot to put on that character. That character is already dealing with so much that all this more drama just felt like it was too heavy for Unique. I want Unique to have a little bit of freedom, and this just complicates things. Now, I do know that a lot of people that do this sort of thing, that do this catfishing thing, aren't doing it to be malicious, but doing it to experience something that they don't think that they can in their everyday lives. So I get it. Doesn't mean I like it. So on to regionals! Maybe I'm the only one, but I kind of loved the guest appearance by the Whiffin Poofs, who were going by the name the Waffle Toots, which, good for you guys to be able to make fun of yourselves. But the Whiffin Poofs are pretty awesome, and they're one of the, or maybe the oldest a cappella singing group ever in the world or something. Anyway, I loved their version of Rainbow Connection. It was really nice. It's kind of nice to hear a classic, just a cappella, no frills version of a really beautiful song. Next up was the major competitor of the evening, the Hoosier Daddies, which is one of the best names for a glee club I've ever heard. And they performed two songs which I was actually unfamiliar with, Charity and Wings. But overall, I thought their performance was kind of superior to the New Directions. I don't think I'm the only one who thought that. I saw a lot of that on Twitter. Maybe they could have just made themselves less awesome. Maybe. But the choreography was cool. I loved the costumes. They kind of had it all going on. Brittany's Big Goodbye, which very much did feel like an official goodbye. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Heather Morris and her career. Obviously she's having a child, but if anything, it felt like a proper send-off to a character that we have very much grown to love over the years. I felt it was really fitting and really touching and really awfully sad. I've gone back and forth about this, the fact that she didn't say anything to Santana And at first I was like, what? But then the more, I thought about it, I realized that nothing she could have said would be able to really satisfy what the fans needed to hear. Rather than try to say something that will come off as insincere or not quite good enough, perhaps it's best to just let the feelings exist without putting words to them. And finally, we have new directions, and there are 3 numbers for regionals. I felt other regional and competition numbers have been stronger in the past, but it was certainly a solid showing from them. Um, Hall of Fame, led by the guys, fun, gives the boys a chance to jump around and be teenage boys, which they seem to like to do and excel at. We've got the, personally, I feel kind of inane song, I love it, but kind of do love it now after what the girls did with it, and really cute, sharp choreo. Um, just the sass. Sometimes when you bring the sass, it just changes things. I wasn't crazy about the original, All or Nothing. Just kind of hit some low notes for me. A little bit hokey, I guess I would say. And I could say hokey because I've been accused of being hokey. But you know what? Strong showing overall, and they won. Yay! I really did love Santana wiping her tears and then handing the same Kleenex to Kurt, who at first reluctantly looks at it but then ends up using it. That was sweet. Shows how far their friendship has progressed. The wedding between Shu and Emma, we knew that was probably going to be the surprise wedding, and, thank God that's done with. And one thing I will say, and I know that I've been very hard on Finn all season, but it felt kind of sad that Finn wasn't able to be there to revel in the success that he helped create for this Glee club. And obviously, we know that Corey Monteith was dealing with his own personal issues and wasn't able to be in the last few episodes. His absence kind of felt big in this. I know. And so, dear, after Ellen viewers, this brings us to the end of Dana Does It with Glee. And I just wanted to let you know how much I have enjoyed being a part of this fandom with you. I want to thank After Ellen so much for the opportunity and the experience and the support, especially to Carmen, to Heather, and to Trish. Thank you all so much. And of course, I want to say a special, special thank you to all of you that took the time to watch my vlog, to check in with me, to send me comments, to tweet with me. It has meant the absolute world, and I couldn't have done it without you, and it has been an honor. I hope I've made you laugh, or maybe even think differently about something, because you certainly have done that for me since the beginning of this adventure. So please follow me on Twitter at Dana Pickley, and where I'll be posting new songs and new videos and articles and all that great stuff. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in to Dana Does It with Glee.